Good evening. My name is Amara Antoine, and today's first lesson is from Job 23, verse 8 through 12. But if I go east to the east, he is not there. If I go to the west, I do not find him. When he is at work in the north, I do not see him. When he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. My feet have closely followed his steps. I have kept to the way without turning aside. I have not departed from his commands of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my daily bread. Here ends the reading. The second lesson is from Isaiah 40, verse 27 through 31. Why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, my cause is discredited from my God? Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Here ends the reading.
Good evening. I need just a minute here. All our ducks in a row. I apologize if any of you listen to Christian Women Speaks on KICD because this is a little bit of a repeat from that. And I also thought I maybe got out of this because it did blizzard, but here I am. So my name is Rachel Simington. Most of you probably know me. And I live with my husband, Joe, and our 4 kids near Fostoria. As most of you know, we raise animals and grain and watch our kids play lots of sports in this season of our life. Our children also have all sorts of animals, hopefully for cash, but I don't know. I told Joe the other day that we might be Spencer Egg's most diversified customer because we've got lots going on. It has been interesting to go through the different seasons with our kids, ages now 11 to 18. And we're on the verge of a new season as we just did our first college visit with Levi, our oldest. It does seem that every season has good things and hard things, right? Let's see what we got here. Did you know that it's normal to go through different seasons in your walk with God? We don't often stop and think about it, but it's reality, and it's good for us to be aware of this. There are seasons that feel like spring. Everything feels new and fresh. There is excitement over new growth, and we feel invigorated. In summer, fresh new growth starts to produce fruit. Things are beautiful. Our faith makes sense to us, and joy and peace abound. Next comes fall. Fall is wonderful because harvest happens. But after the harvest, things can look or be dormant. It appears things are dying, or at least there's not new growth around us. Things slow down, and then winter comes. And in winter, things around us and in us can feel strangely dull, quiet, cold, and not alive. Things don't seem to grow or happen, and we long for spring and summer. We can't make sense of winter sometimes. We wonder what's wrong with us and why God is so quiet. Why does he feel so far away? Sometimes nothing we do or think has changed. But if we look at our life, or more importantly at our soul, it seems more like winter than summer. And we don't know what we're supposed to do. Sometimes we see this in our lives, and sometimes we see it in our churches. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about winter of the soul. As I think about this, and even as I think just a little bit about our church, its members, our community, after the flood, I think it's possible that some of us are in this right now. Maybe a sense of winter came as treasures and pieces of memory and homes and free time and summer plans, and everything just floated away, right? It may have thrown some of us into winter. But it's important to note that winter can come after hard things. But it's also important to note that sometimes you can be on the top of your game, and if people looked at your life, they would think you were in summer. And inside, I can't remember if I added a slide, inside you feel like winter. Or some people, you look at their lives and you're like, it is a mess. Like, it's hard, it's cold, and yet in them, they're like those guys in the snow, right? It's like summer. So it's important to realize for ourselves and for others that what's going on in our heart and soul doesn't always match what life looks like on the outside. And that's important to know. One author described the winter of the soul, as some call it, this way. The winter of the soul is bleak, cold, dark, and fruitless. We lack the energy to engage in activities that just recently filled us with joy. Winter is a season of unwelcomed brooding, often late at night, robbing us of sleep. Most things feel dead or appear so. The days are short and the nights stretch on and on. Winter never seems to end. In winter, we can be tempted to question our faith, to doubt our value, with nothing to show, no fruit. We feel as though our worth has shriveled to nothing. Sometimes God feels silent, and all we can do is wait. In the winter of his soul, the psalmist wrote, I wait for the Lord. My soul waits, and in his word I put my hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than the watchmen wait for the morning. That's kind of foreign terminology to us, but more than the watchman waits for the morning. Isn't there something in you that instinctively wants to avoid winter, to find a way to fly south spiritually until it's over, or at least to avoid it for a while? But what is the purpose of winter of the soul, and what should we do about it? I'll give you some ideas as we get through this today, but first, be assured. As this author says, and as I've seen play out in my life, winter can sometimes be a productive season. We just don't see it when we're in it. I can remember a season several years ago that felt spiritually dry and dead for me. Right before this season, my sister and I had agreed to lead and facilitate the women's weekend up at camp. So we were going to give several talks to encourage the women that weekend. And it had been fall for us, but it kind of moved into winter. We felt like we had nothing to give. We both kept studying, reading the Bible, seeking Jesus, journaling, but we just felt like we were dead, like there was just nothing. Like, Lord, there was just nothing. And the day before we were supposed to talk, there's some camp staff in the room, so this is kind of funny. I wasn't really prepared, but the day before we were supposed to talk, my sister and I got together, and we opened up our journals, and all of a sudden, it was like God just pulled out what he had given us, and we had written, but we hadn't seen. And suddenly we could see all these things God had done in us and through us. And as we put our notes together and walked back through it, without question we could see that it had been a season, though it felt dead and quiet, in which we were strengthened and prepared. So God strengthens us in winter. The same author, her name is Marian Dixon, states, the spiritual season of winter is designed to produce the spiritual strength necessary for us to withstand storms and bear the weight of ministry. I bet there are some of you, or me particularly, if I asked if you'd like more spiritual strength to withstand storms and bear the weight of ministry, you would have said yes. And you would have prescribed yourself a bunch of spiritual summer. But it doesn't work that way. It is in the dead of winter, the cold, seemingly endless period of waiting, that God often does mighty things. But unless our waiting is shaped by the confidence that God is at work, the perceived delay can debilitate us. So, if we are in winter, how do we let the season encourage us to develop a confident trust in God, even if he's not cooperating with our desired time frame? How do we work with him and let him transform us in this season of the soul? Like I said earlier, we farm. We have cattle, well, if you really want to know, we have cattle, sheep, goats, a couple of horses, pigs, cats, and not enough chickens. And they all need to eat, drink, and be warm and dry all winter. So much of what we all do, but especially farmers do, in the spring, summer, and fall, is designed to help us survive and thrive in the winter. So as believers, we can look at the fact that winter will come to our soul. We can be ready to let God work in that season, just like he does in all the others. But how do we get ready? And what do we do? First, we expect it and we prepare. Think about farmers storing grain and bedding for their animals. We do not start this in the winter. So, if you aren't in winter now, what are you storing in your soul? What Bible passages, circles of faith and fellowship, what worship music, etc. is stored in your heart and in place in your life for when winter comes? And if you are in winter, are you using what you have stored? Have you looked at those passages that meant so much to you in summer? Have you let play those worship songs you love? Do you meet with your faith family often, even when you don't feel like it? Imagine a farmer letting his animals starve but never opening his stores. It wouldn't make sense. We haven't had much of a winter this year, thankfully, but I've watched Joe farm long enough to know there are many long, cold stretches. Sometimes you just have to endure it. It's good in spiritual winter to ask yourself those soul-searching questions you should ask in every season, but it's not a time to beat yourself up. We just have to keep going and endure. For some reason, I love this picture, I don't know why. Sometimes you can't overthink the season of winter or it paralyzes you. You just have to walk into it and endure it. But the one thing we know about winter is it won't last forever. In review, we expect winter to come every so often. We prepare for it, we endure it, and we remember it will end. So if you are in a season of winter, ask God to use it. Remain faithful. Trust that his love for you hasn't changed. Rest. Lean in. Focus on loving him as an act of obedience. Take what he puts in front of you, trusting his heart. Observe for the signs of spring and new life, and ask God to show you what he's up to. Keep practicing your spiritual disciplines. They may feel dull and pointless, but they won't be. God will bear fruit from your time spent in a different season. Keep worshiping. Remember, God hasn't changed. And lastly, ask God how you can cooperate with his Spirit in you. And when you think of our church as we rebuild and get ready to do ministry, again in full force, plead with God to use us, to guide us, to encourage us, and to lead us to his next call for us. Often a period of winter is a time of getting ready. One of my favorite life passages Amara read for you already, but I'm going to read it again. It's from Job 23. It's encouraged me so many times. It describes so well how I have felt in the winter of the soul, but it shows me what to do and what God is up to. I hope you spend some time studying it. Again, Job 23. If I go to the east, he is not there. If I go to the west, I do not find him. When he's at work in the north, I do not see him. When he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, you will come forth as gold. May my feet have closely followed his steps. I have kept to his way without turning aside. I have not departed from the commands of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my daily bread. Remember, spring always comes, and so does Easter.